This is my story. I have told it to very few people simply because there are no people in my environment who would listen to it with all the details that are certainly necessary. It happened in October 2012. That year I graduated from college and felt that I was already too big to live with my parents. My choice, like the choice of many young people like me, settled on a cheap rented apartment. My first, truly my place of residence. At that time, it didn't matter to me what was in it and what wasn't. It was a one-room, but a fairly decent-sized apartment, the main space in which was occupied by a room with a very high ceiling. In order to change the light bulb, I had to put a stool on the table, otherwise I couldn't reach it. Renting an apartment was surprisingly cheap, but I attributed it to the decency of its owners. No washing machine, no bath, shower room, tiled, a tiny kitchen. In a word, only the most necessary things for life. It didn't scare me. I washed my simple belongings in the sink and hung them up to dry in the kitchen. At first I was so absorbed in my independent life that I didn't notice anything around me. Practically nothing. I left very early and came in late. Sometimes I didn't even spend the night in my apartment. But it didn't last that long. Just a week. Then the strange thing started. I found it harder to fall asleep. No matter how exhausted I was, I couldn't sleep. I sat late at night in the company of a laptop or an ebook at the table or in bed, and I began to feel more and more anxious in the evening and at night. It grew every day, despite the fact that I did not watch horror films, did not read books of this genre, did not sit on websites of the relevant subject, and nothing frightening happened in my life. In short, everything was normal, except for this feeling. Soon I noticed something else. My cat used to sleep on my bed during the day, but in the evening she bypassed this place and went to the kitchen, settling on the refrigerator. The refrigerator rattled and creaked and hardly contributed to a good sleep, but she was adamant. It never occurred to me to take her in, until one evening, when the anxiety became not just stronger at times than it was before, but turned into something frightening. It seemed to me that someone was standing behind me, and when I sat down with my back to the wall and looked at a book, I noticed some movement on the threshold of the room out of the corner of my eye. I looked up sharply. No one, but my heart was beating faster. I looked up. I couldn't say exactly what happened, but something was wrong. The air in front of me somehow looked strange, as if broken into pixels. I froze, blinked. No, it didn't seem. And really, I wanted to be somewhere far away from here. Never to appear here again. And why? I couldn't have answered that question then. Because nothing really happened. I could just sit at the computer. Yes, it probably was. I put the book down and, getting out of bed, left the room. More precisely, he stopped on the threshold, and, quickly stretching out his hand, turned on the light in the kitchen. The electric light bulb reliably illuminated her space. The cat was sleeping on the refrigerator. My things were swinging on a rope. Everything was normal, calm and not at all scary. I took the cat in my arms and carried it to my room. As soon as her little body touched my bed, she jumped up, as if I had thrown her into the water, and pressed her ears to her head. It should be said that my cat is very affectionate to strangers and to familiar people, and she always follows me at all and does not miss the opportunity to sleep not just on my bed, but on me. I stroked her back, talked to her, convincing her and myself that there was nothing wrong, that it was late and I had to go to bed. I don't know how I managed to persuade the cat and myself, but I turned off the light and we went to bed. I do not know what time it was when I woke up. It was night outside the window, but perhaps it was the pre-dawn darkness. I didn't wake up from a terrible dream, not from a touch. I woke up because my cat was hissing. She was standing on the bed, every muscle tense, arched back, raised fur. She was looking straight ahead. I looked at the cat and realized that I would probably rather die than look up. But I did. I understood why she was hissing. There was a figure right in front of us. It looked blurry and fuzzy, but it was definitely a human figure, a dark silhouette drawn in the air with exactly the same pixels that I saw in the light. The figure did not move and did not act in any way. It seemed to be watching. The second I looked at her stretched out for probably a billion years. In the next second, I flew off the bed like a bullet and rushed to the light switch. The light spread across the room, and I, like the devil from incense, shied away from the dark doorway leading to the corridor. It seemed to me that someone was hiding there too. I sat down on the bed next to the cat, took her in my arms, hugged her to me. We didn't sleep again that night. I was watching stupid comedies that were on my computer, and I was very afraid to leave the room. But the next day brought me a new job, and by the evening everything that happened began to seem like a dream. Or rather, I convinced myself of it. A dream, it seemed. I sat at the computer too long, but still I tried not to think about it. At the mere memory, my heart began to thump in my chest often. Therefore, when I went to bed, I left the lights on in all rooms. A room, a kitchen, a corridor, a toilet and a small tiled shower room. I got up on the alarm clock in the early morning and did not immediately realize what was wrong. Only after turning on the kettle and turning off the light in the kitchen, I realized the light in the room was not on. I checked the light bulb, but it didn't burn out. The traffic didn't blow out. Everything was fine. It is alright. It is alright. I kept telling myself on the way home from work, as if wound up. I knew that today I would not sleep until it stops. The next day is Saturday. You can sleep. I was mentally making a list of movies to watch at night. There was not a single horror movie among them, or even a hint of something sinister. The cat purred on her lap, the heroes got into stupid situations and behaved even more idiotically. Time was probably moving smoothly towards 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I looked up. If I were an old man or a person with a heart condition, I would die. Sitting at the computer, he would have died of a heart attack. There was a light on in my room, right in front of me. The same figure appeared in the thickened air. Thanks to the light, it seemed clearer and clearer. The cat, who was dozing on her knees, jumped up and, arching her back, hissed, and I sat neither alive nor dead with horror, looking hopelessly at the other corner of the room, where the same figure appeared, only seemingly bent. The third was at the doorway. I threw the laptop away, grabbed the cat in my arms and rushed to the switch, as if it could save me. I clicked it twice. On off. We were alone in the room. Alone. I drank almost a sea of tea for the stub of night that remained until dawn. Now it will seem ridiculous, but even I went to the toilet holding a cat in my hands. I was afraid that when I returned, I would not see her again. I tried not to leave the room. Saturday morning I went to church. I can't say I am very religious, but I just didn't know what to do. All my relatives and friends were in another city, far away from me. I returned home with holy water, which I carefully sprayed all the corners, repeating the prayer. In the light of day, when the gentle sun peeked through the window, I felt like an idiot who had no money for a psychologist, but as soon as I started thinking in that direction, the memories of last night rose very vividly before my eyes. The next night passed quietly, and another one, and more, and all the subsequent nights that I had in that apartment until I moved out, going to my own.